case you're wondering what Homestead fast food is, it's when you take a home canned container of broth, some previously cooked and frozen turkey, and some fresh from the greenhouse pak choy, and a few other bits and pieces from the pantry, and some carrots from the fridge, and you turn it into soup. Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres. We're gonna get some pak choy this morning. Man, I don't know what the actual temperature in here is, but it is totally too warm. Could have something to do with the fact that it's 27 outside. My glasses are terminally fogged. 65.6. What we have here is pak choy. I know there's going to be a lot of bad leaves on some of these. That's just the way it is. That's from all the freezing and thawing. Yeah, we have mycelium growing here on the surface. That's weird. Not necessarily thrilled with that. This has got to go. This is actually, you see the whole heart has rotted out of it. That's because it's getting rained on by the sky so much here. I wonder if that's actually is mycelium or if it's just roots. Good question. Definitely got some crown rot here. We've never had damage this severe from frost before, no matter how cold it was. But it's just been so cold. I know it was at least down to 22 here last night. I haven't checked the thermometer to see what the low was. But something is better than nothing, so even if I wind up tossing a bunch of this stuff, it's still, it was just the cost of a seed. Jack doesn't like it, the roof, the ceiling is dripping. All those little dots of water up there. You know, I've got damage on these, but the ends of all these leaves will be perfectly fine. Anything that's rotten in the center, I'll taste everything, of course, to make sure it hasn't developed any off flavors or bitterness or anything. But in the past, when things like that have happened, it didn't taste weird. It just wasn't as pretty. Debating pulling out one more in here. And the question is which one? Eeny, meeny, chili beanie. All right, the answer is you. There we go. And see, there'll be some brown in there. The bottom of that leaf is not going to be any good, but the tops are perfectly fine. Oh, they're tender. I'll trim off any brown edges on anything, but that's going to make a fine bowl of soup. Okay, here we are back in the kitchen, and I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how we make up a quick soup. It's a perfect thing to start an hour or two before you want to eat lunch or dinner on a nice cold day, and we definitely have a nice cold day. It was 12 degrees when I got up this morning. It's now up to 30. So, first thing I'm going to do is I am going to take 2 quarts of our home canned stock. This happens to be turkey stock, and normally for this, turkey or chicken, that's what we usually use. Either one's perfectly fine. It happens to be that I've got a lot more turkey stock on hand than I do chicken stock, so we'll save the chicken stock for something else. But let's get this open. always sniff. I always take a look to see if I approve of the way it looks. Yummy. Okay. Stock's in the pot. Get it on. I've got a packet of turkey here that I defrosted this morning. It does have a little gravy in it. Doesn't hurt anything. Put this on low. I just dried this out when I was having breakfast this morning. Of course, they're drying some. Anyway, so this has got a little bit of gravy in it, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's not going to hurt anything. I just dumped that meat that I defrosted earlier in there. I could have done this with a microwave, but we talked about it at breakfast time, so it seems like a sensible thing to do. Next thing I'm going to do is peel some carrots. Okay, now we have our stock, we have our carrots. Now we're going to see what we've got for cabbage, pak choy. The only thing I've done to these is wash the dirt off the very bottom, because I didn't want to have to deal with dirt. I hate it when you get dirt on your cutting board. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, see we had some crown rot in here, I'm going to take that and cut that off nice and clean. I would have it up if I was dealing with a piece of celery or something that I had a question about. No off taste at all. Okay. In this case, the top of the leaf could be nicer. So I'm just going to use the bottom. And I'm going to repeat this until I have all of this processed. I'm going to lose quite a bit to the damage, but I should still have plenty enough to go in here. What I'm doing is I'm making two piles. This is just leaves, this is leaf and stems. Okay, what I'm going to do now, because my board is getting full, is I'm going to chop this up. The leaves, just a piece there, I'm going to just sort of shred like that. I don't want giant pieces. They will boil down and disintegrate into almost nothing as they go on. The parts that have more crunchy bits to them, I'm going to slice up as if they were celery. There's a definite crunch to them. We have turkey, we have carrots, we have pak choy. Now, what else could I put in if I didn't have pak choy? I could put in cabbage, kohlrabi, the peeled stems off of broccoli, kale, if you're a kale follower, collards, just small quantities, you don't want it to overpower anything. The first thing we have to decide on is what kind of stock we're going to use. It can be pork, it can be chicken, it can be beef, it can be a vegetable stock. Doesn't matter, it's your choice. Then we're going to choose what we have for veggies. Now, at this point in my cooking process, I have to decide whether I want to go with what I would call a standard American turkey soup, which probably wouldn't include pak choy, by the way, or whether I'm going to go off towards what we call a Chinese soup. It's actually just sort of vaguely Asian. It used some of the liquids that they would have used in a soup that we would get at a Chinese restaurant. So if I want a standard American soup, I could probably do something like regular old noodles. We love noodle soup. It's a frequent thing that happens around here. Now that's pretty good. It's got a nice turkey taste to it. The vegetables are coming in behind. Pak choy is mild, so it's not going to make it taste like a cabbage soup or something like that. You can tell there's some greens in there, but you don't really think of it as being cabbagey. Now, at this point, I have to decide, and I've already decided, I'm going to be doing a Chinese-style soup. So, if I was doing a long, well-planned-out, uninterrupted by the world type soup, I would take some of these shiitake mushrooms. I would soak them in hot broth or hot water, slice them up fine, and add that to it. That adds what they call umami, which is a deep, dark sort of a flavor. The same kind of flavor you can get from sauteing plain old white mushrooms or porcini mushrooms or something like that. The kind of flavor you get from some of the darker mushrooms. It just gives it almost a meat-like flavor. Because it didn't work out today and I've been interrupted a lot, I'm going to use a simpler thing. Now, what we do sometimes is we will wind up with so much soup that we will turn it into more than one meal. And if we do that, then sometimes the second meal is actually a noodle meal, or it gets put over noodles or put over rice or something like that. But what I'm going to add, because I want a sort of a Chinese flavor, is I'm going to add two things. I'm going to add soy sauce, and I'm going to add cooking sherry. Now, in general, we do not use any kind of wine that is sold as a cooking wine. I'm making an exception because it's usually heavily salted and it's usually not the finest quality wine. Now, I don't normally drink sherry. It's a sweet wine. I do like sweet wines. But for whatever reason, cooking sherry works for me. So I'm going to put in about half a cup of cooking sherry. And what I always recommend is you have to do this to taste, because it's you that's eating the soup. And a half a cup of soy sauce. They usually use the low salt soy sauce. They didn't have it when I was shopping, so I was just glad to get the regular old soy sauce. Now what I will do is I will taste it. Be careful about adding too much soy sauce. You do not want this to taste like soy sauce soup. That's not a good thing. And you're much better off adding things a quarter cup at a time if you're uncertain. It's got enough soy, needs a little bit more sherry. Last time I picked this stuff up, it was on sale, which is a good thing. I think I have 6 containers of it. I need to start looking for it again though, because it is sometimes hard to buy. Now, if I were cooking this in a professional kitchen, I would not be using the same spoon. This is for us, for lunch. That's better. I haven't added any salt to this at all because there's plenty of salt in the cooking wine and in the soy sauce. And now, because I've decided this is getting along, I'm going to add some Japanese udon, which are simply this is wheat, but usually udon are made with buckwheat. But this is a good brand. It's what I can find at the store. So I'm just going to add a nice little pack of these. They come in separate packs. If you can see, this one's got a strap around it. Strap just fell off this one, so I'm going to get all of that out. Camera battery died, by the way. I dumped in some Japanese udon, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it until it is cooked, the way we like it. One of the fun things about these soups like this is you get to do what you want to with it. If you don't like carrots, you don't have to put carrots in it. If you had fresh peas, for instance, that would be a good choice. If you want noodles or udon or barley or whatever, you can add it. You just need to be aware of the length of time necessary to cook that thing. So, for instance, the udon says, simmer uncovered 13 to 14 minutes. It's always as easy to add. It's not impossible to undo a mistake, but it's a lot harder. How have I made a mistake before? I have added too much soy sauce. So what I did in that case was, the rest of the soup was pretty good, except it was too salty because of the soy sauce. I added another container of broth. You can add just about any kind of fruit or vegetable or starch that you want to a soup like this. What we call our Chinese soups are probably one of our favorites. I mean, there's times when we just feel like an old-fashioned Middle America chicken noodle soup, and we do that. There's lots of other things you can add to it. Like I say, it's your personal taste. Experiment, but experiment carefully. If I wanted to add celery, I could do that. The crunchiness of the pak choi stem substitutes for the celery. There are times when I will add some of the very crunchy stalks pretty much right at the last minute to keep them crunchier. There's other times, especially if the leaves are a bit tough, I will add them earlier. In this case, I knew that they were not prime, fragile, wonderful leaves. They were a little thicker. So I added them a little bit earlier. The flavors will meld better. But here we have soup. And as soon as the pasta is done here, I will be putting it in bowls and serving it up. And it looks pretty cheerful because it's got veggies in it, different colors, big chunks of turkey, and but the pasta is not cooked yet. It's going to take a little while. So I hope this inspires you to try some soups of your own. I love soup on a cold day. And yesterday we were kind of in a rush, so we just did some canned soup that we had. But this will be beefy enough, and when I say beefy enough, I mean full of enough stuff that we won't feel an urge to do anything other than eat this with soup. Some soup with your soup. And if we have stuff left over, I may just add in some more vegetables and noodles and things, and we can have dinner too. So don't be afraid to wing it. You know what your flavors you like? Try it. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I'll definitely be doing more stuff. Now I'm wishing I had some fresh bread, but I don't have time for that today. So until next time, bye.